This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching, and in today's video I'd like to share with you my finished projects for the Courthouse Star and the Kaleidoscope Lone Star. Here's the Courthouse Star. It's made with two 23-inch blocks put together, and you can see it's very good size. The top was hand stitched, and if you can remember the block that we had that was in there, the Courthouse Star block, then you'd remember that there were three squares that started this block, and then we added the two accent pieces, the color that we drew out of the fabric, and then the background, which was black. The middle part was just 7 strips sewn together. So when I finished that, then I decided I'm going to machine stitch the top. And as I looked at it, there wasn't much that was going to show up in the floral color that was chosen. And I didn't want to mess with the turquoise or the pink, because they just seemed to sort of shine, and I would leave those alone. So I started in, and I said, well, I've got some squares that I can work in. And so I went over to the first square in the corner, and I took one of my templates. This started from a circle. I just had a circle in, no, this one started from a star. I'm sorry. And you can see the star in there. And went inside and put swirls, and then on the outside connected the star edges and fixed something inside those, and just built it as I went. And the funny thing was, I didn't do it on paper first, I just did it as I was doing it. And I was going to show you what the paper looked like. It was actually harder to draw it after I had made it. So this is what it would have looked like if I was going to do a drawing before I started. I'm not sure I even would have used that the way it went, but it turned out really nice on that fabric. And I didn't want to go with a colored thread on this. I have not used black as a background color very much, so I just went with a black thread. The other part that I noticed were the bars that we had from making the block. And I thought, I'm just going to make those nice and simple and just make straight lines across and put blocks in there. And then I repeated it when I came up and went into the black in the center where they came together. Then I had 4 more blocks, and I didn't want those to be the same as the corner. So here again, I started out, this one is the one with the circle in it. And I went into the middle and I repeated the box pattern because I had a nice open space in there, and then did some of those curlicues going up and down through there, that L and E. And then came and put circles around the outside, and then repeated that for all the 4 blocks. And this was the first time I turned it over and looked at the back, thinking there wasn't going to be anything to see on the back. But you can see that the pattern actually showed up on the back with this also. This was a nice project. It went quickly, and it gave me a lot of room for having some fun with some free motion quilting on the top. But the same thing would have been true if you were going to hand stitch the top and put your own designs in that. That was the Courthouse Star. If you remember, this is the Lone Star. And I decided to use some of my scraps to see what would happen if I had a scrappy look. And this is the one that actually, when you hold it up and look at it, it seems to have a kaleidoscope appearance. And so the star in the center was all hand stitched together because I wanted those points to come together. I'll zoom in here and see if we can find some. And you can see that that turned out good. Now you can do it on the sewing machine, and it will tell you some ideas of ways to do it. It was enjoyable doing that by hand. When I finished the top, I was left with the four corners and the inserts on the sides. And I thought, the last quilt I made those very simple. And I thought, I'm going to do that again. So you can see I just did a running stitch and filled in those blocks. Then I added one row of background fabric, about 2 inches. And like everything I seem to do, I overcut my diamonds. I told you in the other video I was going to cut them just enough. Well, I overdid it again because I kept seeing colors that I liked. And I had seen a chevron pattern on one of these quilts. And so I went ahead and sewed those together and added those to the quilt. And then one more edge. And then when I got to that last edge, I said, well, what would be something that would be nice and simple? And so I just had lines coming off the chevron going the next direction they would have gone, and did that all the way to the back. And through time, I've learned to really enjoy looking at the backs of the quilts. You'll take it and do a pattern, and you'll say, I don't think I'll even see it on the back. But when I turned over the Lone Star, that stitching showed up. And it's almost like having two quilts in one. And it's fun to look at the back on that. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. I hope you enjoyed looking at those completed projects.